to help analyze today's presser. Somebody, by the way, who's usually in the room for those events. He was playing hooky today. Author of the brand new book, The Outpost, An Untold Story of American Valor. ABC News senior White House correspondent, Jake Tapper. How are you?
I'm great.
I follow you on Twitter, and I love your tweets. You really live and breathe this, which I really like. Let me ask you, because I just went through this with Lindsey Graham. I felt questions that weren't asked today at the press conference. You said between the first and second debates, you were talking about there was a general feeling in the Romney campaign that the media was ready to write the Obama comeback story. In other words, they feel, as I do, that there is an institutional bias. That's what they were saying to you. Mm-hmm. You think that's true?
This election, I didn't get as much of a general scheme because I was just focused on Obama as opposed to the last campaign where I hopped around a lot and covered a lot of different campaigns. So I don't know. I mean, I think that there are ways in which narratives take control, and sometimes they're not fair. I mean, I think just to give a nonpartisan example, I think the media wasn't fair to Hillary Clinton during the Democratic primaries. There was a lot of anti-Hillary stories and more scrutiny on her than there was on then Senator Obama. And sometimes that's because one person runs a better campaign, one person is a more inspirational leader, one person's a fresher face. But whatever the reasons, I think sometimes the media should be a little bit more careful about bending over backwards to be fair.
I think one of the issues is, I mean, the president was able to run out the clock on Benghazi. Where was he that night? Did he know about the request for security? Was there a request for assistance that night with those that were under fire? We know that Ty Woods and one other Navy SEAL, they disobeyed orders because they were hearing the cries for help. I didn't feel we got an answer to a lot of questions today.
There's a lot that we don't know about that night still. I mean, what we do know about that night is that President Obama was meeting with Secretary Panetta and the Joint Chiefs Chairman at a pre-scheduled meeting, and that's when they were told that the compound was under attack. And according to the White House, the president said, do what you need to do to get those, to save the Americans.
That's what he said, but where was he? When did he know? Who did he talk to? Was he the person who said to stand down to the CIA annex, which was a mile away? These to me seem basic. If we're watching this in real time, doesn't that seem like the president ought to have known that? When the State Department's watching it in real time?
Well, I don't have answers that you're looking for. I certainly.
No, I'm not grilling you.
No, I know. I mean, I think there's a lot we don't know about. Some of the things you just asserted, the CIA denies to be true, which is not to take away from Jennifer Griffin's, great reporting, but the CIA says there was no stand-down order. There's obviously a lot we don't know about, and there have been more and more TikToks provided, minute-by-minute accounts from the Pentagon, from the CIA, from the State Department, and at some point, there needs to be some sort of reckoning because they don't always add up.
Yeah. Look, I actually think you're one of the guys that really does try to play it down the middle, like our own Ed Henry, and there were a few others. I thought there was a good question by Jonathan Karl today.
John did a great job.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. And I don't make a blanket media bias question, but I just want to get your thoughts on it. I want to credit you. You wrote a book, The Outpost, An Untold Story of American Valor, and you talk about 53, I think was the number of Americans, and they're surrounded by 400 Taliban. They're really outnumbered. And you wrote this book, and I'm reading it. This is an amazing story that I don't think most people know about. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this combat outpost was put in this incredibly obscure corner of Afghanistan, at the bottom of 3 steep mountains, 14 miles from the Pakistan border. The troops were originally put there to try to prevent the insurgents from coming in from Pakistan. But as the years went on, and it became more and more dangerous, the reason for that outpost to be there seemed to vanish. But the outpost stayed there. Now, one of the reasons the outpost stayed there is because the military has this very can-do spirit. That can-do spirit often is one of the greatest things in the world. Sometimes it means that mistakes are not admitted. And by the summer of 2009, as a Pentagon investigation later admitted, there was no strategic or tactical reason for that camp to be there. It had become a camp that its only purpose was its own self-defense. And for years, the intelligence reports had been warning that something bad was going to happen to this camp, and then it finally did. Just before dawn, October 3rd, 2009, about 400 Taliban attacked the camp, 53 Americans in the worst possible vulnerable position. And the Taliban may be evil, but they are also smart. And they pinned down the mortars, they pinned down the observation post, they knew where to go with everything. Eventually they got in the camp. 8 Americans died that day. But 45 survived, and the testament, and one of the reasons I wrote this book is because the heroism of those who survived and the 8 who died was just remarkable. They ran out into this hailstorm of bullets and rockets and mortars to save their brothers, to provide ammunition, and it's just it's a sad story, but it's also a very inspiring one because this is who we have serving us in the armed services.
No, I'm glad in light of, I know everyone's talking about the salacious nature of General Petraeus and all this. These guys put so much on the line for us. They risk their lives, and they sacrifice so much. And I don't think an accurate picture is being portrayed often enough about our military. I love the book, and it's really terrific. Very well researched. You went to Afghanistan. You talked to all these guys, 250 people. I mean, it's really well done. Jake, appreciate you coming by. Come back again.
I appreciate it. You have a lot of fans among those troops also. You should know.
The good people, great people. We're lucky to have them. And